Welcome and thanks for joining us on another episode of the WealthTech Insider. I'm your host, Danni Le Grande, and today we have a really interesting and very relevant episode of the WealthTech Insider where we delve into the world of AI in financial services and particularly in financial advice businesses. So we're really excited to have Selin Ertac from Tangelo Advice Consulting and Fraser Jack from the Cyber Collective joining us today. And these experts have played a really pivotal role in developing a comprehensive AI usage policy designed to help financial advice businesses use AI responsibly and ethically in their businesses as well. Thanks for joining us, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
All right, I'm just going to briefly introduce the policy and really its significance to the financial advice market and to financial advice businesses. So the policy is a comprehensive guide designed to help financial advice businesses utilize AI tools in a really sort of secure, responsible and ethical manner. This document is the result of a collaborative effort between Tangelo and the Cyber Collective as well. And I guess really the significance of this policy can't be overstated as AI technology continues to evolve. We're seeing lots of more AI tools out there and demos with AI tools. It brings immense potential for really enhancing efficiency in our businesses and improving client interactions and helping with back office tasks and that sort of thing and really driving business growth. But with that potential, obviously, it's also coming with a lot of risk. And we really need to think about how we use AI ethically and how to manage it properly. So, Selin, can you explain to us the purpose and the scope of the policy?
It's ultimately just to add to it. I think we were just finding that financial services businesses were dabbling in AI technology, or in some cases, the staff within the business were, without the business owners necessarily being aware of it. So for us, it was just important to establish some guidelines around how AI could be utilized within the business to make sure that you weren't necessarily introducing any new risks, or at least if you were being aware of them, to ensure that you could mitigate them. Further to that, I think we were finding that from our respective businesses, it was almost a one-dimensional lens in assessing AI. And as part of this AI framework, we just wanted to bring in the cyber AI product selection as well as the compliance and governance elements into it as well.
Yeah, brilliant. And Fraser, talk us through the collaborative effort between you guys with Tangelo and the Cyber Collective. You both do really important work with financial advice businesses, and it really does seem like a really good marriage to get a policy and a document with the collective thinking of both of you. So talk us through.
Yeah, thank you. Absolutely. We've been talking about different areas in the cyberspace for how we can help firms, how we can help advise firms and licensees in this space, and this AI piece of the jigsaw puzzle came up, and it was just such a need for this for advice firms. The waves that keep coming with AI were coming again and again, and a lot of advice firms just weren't really ready or know what to do or where to start. So we sort of put our thinking caps together and went, right, what can we bring to the table, and how we can bring all the points that people don't tend to think about all the time. A lot of the time when AI is seen, it's a new and exciting tool that can provide some sort of an efficiency or do something. But as we know, with any selection of tech products, there is a lot to be worked through, from the tech itself through to how the people are using it, through to the compliance piece of what are the policies you have in place around that, and how's that going to work if something goes wrong. So yeah, we came to this together and thought about a whole lot of different things and put them all on the table and worked them through.
I feel like it's really good points. I feel like it's a little bit cart before the horse, isn't it? Because these tools are so exciting, and we use them at Finura, and they really are making quite a good impact on the way that we do things and chipping away at those day-to-day jobs. But as you both say, we really need to stop, take a breath, and think about how we're using this properly. So really the guiding principles in the policy emphasize data privacy, security, and that balance between AI and human judgment and human involvement as well. Obviously, that's really important with financial planning clients. And when I think about sort of use cases here, we've seen financial advisor avatars coming into light, and sort of, on LinkedIn, Fraser, you had a really good example of yourself as an avatar recently, and it was very it was really good, and it was sort of really demonstrated how how it definitely looked like you there. So I guess, Fraser, highlight the potential risks for us and those challenges associated with using AI in financial planning businesses.
Yeah, obviously there are a lot of risks in using AI in with data storage, with it being stored, who's having access to it. Are you controlling a lot of this stuff, or are you just giving out information that you probably shouldn't be? I think one of the biggest risks I've seen is just in the name AI, artificial intelligence. Right? We all love the concept of intelligence in our business, and that's an amazing. We're all open to that, but we're running businesses that are built on trust, and the relationships that advice firms have with their clients is really, really delicate and precious. And to introduce something artificial into that mix can be a little bit damaging to that trust, I guess, is probably the best way of putting it. And so one of the points that I like to make is, in this space, one of the main risks is losing trust, let alone losing data, and let alone losing some of the other risks that can come along with it. And to me, really around how do we then think about using, or the usage of AI in a way that's intelligent but not artificial. So if we can add some authenticity to it, I think when ChatGPT first came out, people did things like they would say, "I asked ChatGPT this question and it gave me this answer." And what they were doing at that moment was being very authentic about the fact that they were using AI in this way, and this is the benefit that was coming out of it. It's a little bit like a magician showing you the magic, as in showing you how they did this magic. And so, I think bringing people along for that journey in an authentic way is really important, especially if you're going to be using AI with your clients' information and with your clients, getting their consent, them understanding that this thing's being used and how it's being used and how it's a benefit. And that you've been through a lot of these checks and balances in the background, and you've trained your team, you've got your policies in place, you've got some structure in the background, and but yeah, just thinking about the usage of AI as authentic intelligence rather than artificial intelligence, and implementing it in your business that way, I think is kind of one of the first steps that we really need to tackle in that. What are some of the risks that can go wrong with AI?
Yeah, I sort of think too, if I was a client of a financial planner, I would want to know if my review was being delivered by an avatar. That kind of makes sense as a use case too, right? It's actually a really reviews is where all the backlog happens in advice businesses, and it does make sense to use AI in this way, I feel. But again, I would really want to know if is it actually my advisor, or is it the AI? So yeah, really good points. So Selin, can you talk us about the importance of using AI ethically and also fairly as well?
Absolutely. I think when we think about the code of ethics that kind of governs our industry, it's about trustworthiness, it's about competence, it's about honesty, it's about fairness and diligence. So if we kind of think about that lens and the way in which AI needs to integrate into our business, it really is around trust and transparency. So I think ultimately, Danni, to further elaborate on what you just mentioned, I think, users and clients have a right to know how AI systems are being utilized and if AI systems are being utilized, especially in financial services where some of those decisions can actually be quite detrimental if not utilized properly. Second thing is obviously around avoiding bias as much as possible. I know as individuals, we also bring our own biases too, but if the AI systems are being trained to utilize, trained on biased data, ultimately the outcome of that is going to be biased advice as well. So I think we just need to be careful that, ethical use of AI also involves the steps to identify and mitigate those biases as much as possible, because at the end of the day, representatives or advisors are ultimately responsible for what's being provided. So they can't necessarily outsource that obligation to AI. And thirdly, and I'm sure Fraser will further elaborate on this, is around data privacy and security. So that's obviously critical, importance. So, and we need to make sure that how data is being utilized and what data is being utilized is also really clear within the business.
Yeah, and it's fair to say a lot of that sort of started with the concept of usage around marketing, usage around how do I create some content or a post or a blog or an article, and use the tools that are out there to do that, which are really efficient, and that's a step forward, but it's a very big leap forward then once you start utilizing it for individual client outcomes.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I sort of feel, it does have a lot of benefits using AI in financial services. I think we've got plenty of use cases where I sort of think simply file notes or unsimply. Obviously, file notes are very complex in an advice business. We have to do them. But really, I think if you're doing things like using Copilot, for example, and recording your Teams meetings, you can get Copilot to summarize your meetings, generate those action items, go back if you've forgotten what the client said. I find that sort of tool is really handy. What other sort of benefits, Selin, are you sort of finding where AI can enhance efficiency and business operations and client engagement?
Definitely on the efficiency front. I mean, file notes is definitely one area that we're seeing a lot of use cases. And I think it's ultimately being utilized for any repetitive tasks. So, it just kind of allows employees and staff members to really start to focus more on the complex and the value add within the business rather than doing those administrative and rather mundane tasks. Obviously, the use of chatbots, for example, where we're kind of seeing with some of our businesses to address any routine client inquiries, but also it's being utilized to address any employee inquiries as well. So some businesses are using it as part of, onboarding, training, and development of their own staff. So it's not necessarily just client facing, but could also be internal as well. And from a business operations perspective, it's obviously, utilizing AI to rummage through, large data sets and providing insights into the business, of which one of them could actually be to identify any compliance and risks within the business as well. So almost utilizing that as a bit of a red flag alert.
And can I just add to that? AI is being used in almost everything, right? Like if you think about Microsoft Copilot or any of the others out there, for those that are using a Salesforce CRM, for example, that it's being introduced into so many different things. Everybody who's got their antivirus, for example, don't realize, but there's AI being used in a lot of that. The ATO are using AI. The big government organizer, everybody's starting to use it. So it's not that you're unique and individual and you're using a chat bot or those sorts of things. It's going to be everywhere. So I think we kind of need to realize that we've missed the point where it's, are we using it or aren't we using it? Because a lot of the tools that we already use are going to start using it if they haven't already. And so I think the time, from a timing point of view, that and getting into this idea of having policies in your business and setting things up and training your team and realizing and thinking about how you're going to use it, that time's kind of past. It's not about the future. It's kind of about it's the now, or it was almost yesterday. And so we're almost playing catch up in this space for a lot of these different areas that we're talking about.
Yeah, good points. And I sort of think about, the government in terms of regulatory requirements and usage of AI. We haven't sort of seen a lot of activity around there. We know that it's happening in the background, but we haven't sort of seen, I think, you guys correct me if I'm wrong here, any sort of substantial guardrails, I guess, come down from the government. So really then it does come down to us to, as, Fraser, you would well know with cybersecurity issues, we need to educate our clients about cyber and, how to recognize emails that are not from us and all that sort of stuff. I think it's, it is going to come down to us to start educating our clients as well about AI. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, and so that's exactly right. So talking to our clients about AI depends, the basis, I guess, for that is to make sure that you've got your own house in order. And so to have the confidence to train your team, to talk about how you do and don't use it, to have all these things set up is in the first place, to then be able to go on and talk to your clients about what you do and making sure that's part of every single review meeting that you do with your clients, to say, oh, and this is how we use it, and this is how we deal with this, about how we protect you, and this is all the things we put in place to make sure that your information is looked after, and we're going the extra mile for you, for the client, because 100% of clients will be thinking about this. Oh, what's happening with my data? They're listening to the news every day that comes out. There's a new attack or a new breach or a new issue, or a new fear, or the way that media works obviously is of fear, and so the fear of AI is pushed out there a lot. And so it's about putting your clients at ease, making them feel comfortable about how you do and don't use, and where you avoid and where you stay away from. But to do that, I think you need to get your own house in order so that you can come from a place of confidence.
Yeah, good points. Okay, so in the document, there's some practical tools, which I really love, on the sort of best practices for using AI tools responsibly. Selin, can you talk us through a couple of those things or the practical tools that are in the policy
Yeah.
to help advise businesses sort of get their heads around this?
Absolutely. And I think we've tried to frame the AI framework that we've developed in a couple of different areas. So, one is actually the policy and how AI can ultimately be utilized in the business. Again, how each business utilizes it is going to be vastly different. So, we've tried to provide as much insight and examples as we possibly can. And we've also tried to cover off on the critical areas such as, data privacy and how data can be utilized and not utilized. So, there needs to be some guardrails within the business around what kind of information are we inputting in, what kind of information is permitted to be used within the business. So again, that needs to extend out to making sure that we're not actually breaching any privacy laws or regulations. So there needs to be some guardrails around that. We've touched on user consent previously. So it's, taking that extra step to ensure that your clients actually understand if and when AI is being utilized, especially if it's in the provision of advice. So I'm kind of parking any of the marketing or administrative tasks to the side because I think that's a bit of a no-brainer and it just provides efficiency for the business. But where it actually impacts the end client, I think we need to be really clear about how it's being utilized and making sure that they're aware of it. That can also extend into, I guess, updating our privacy policies. So is the use of AI actually being disclosed in our privacy policies, and should it be? Again, where it's in the provision of personal advice, it potentially should be in there. We also then talk about accountability of the AI tools. Again, who within your business is going to be responsible for ensuring that, the data and the outputs that are being produced also has that human oversight and overlay onto it. Again, to my earlier point, the regulator has already indicated that you can't outsource that obligation to AI. So it's making sure that there's parameters within your business to ensure that any outputs that are being produced is free of bias and it actually does have that human oversight to make sure that it is correct. So it's not necessarily replacing the human experience and judgment, it's supporting it.
Yeah, okay. That's actually really interesting. We do some research in the market on how advice businesses are using technology. And one of the questions that we ask is around how often do you review your technology stack? And most advice businesses don't review their technology stack. So there's some advice businesses that will review it annually. Some of them are doing it half yearly, which is really great. But quite a lot aren't reviewing tech stacks at all. Obviously, that's why we come into the picture a lot of the time. So I think now, this is even more of an imperative to review your tech stack, because we have to be reviewing. AI is going to move really quickly, right? And we're going to be seeing a lot of very fast development. Look at the new ChatGPT. It's the difference is incredible in just not a very long period of time. So I think that's a really good point. We've got to really be on reviewing what we're doing with AI.
And just on that concept of reviewing, and as per the what we talk about in this particular document as well, it's about keeping the record keeping around that review. So there's two decisions that need to be made. One, do we start using this product? And two, do we keep using this product? And does that have we reviewed that? What was our decision from the review? Have we made a decision? Do we have that record keeping about that third party vendor product? And then we've made a decision as of this date, whatever the date is, July 2024, we've made the decision to continue to use this product going forward. And the next decision on that will be, a particular date in the future or within 12 months or whatever it might be.
Yeah. So just, I really love that. That's sort of, and again, we always harp on about doing due diligence on your technology providers as well. So the same is going to apply with your AI tools. So Fraser, we in the document, we sort of talk about the process of assessing new AI tools. What sort of work are advisors go? What does a policy document sort of discuss around assessing AI tools?
Yeah, well, so often we choose or select technology based on functionality, right? Does this thing, we need that'll produce efficiencies. How amazing is it? Other people must be using it. Surely somebody else has assessed that and worried about that, or surely they must have security standards in place. And as we know, assumption is not something that gets you through a legal case to say, oh, we just assume they had security standards, or we assume they were safe in their data, or we assume they put some of the money that we pay them towards protecting that data. or these assumptions that are made. And look, 9 times out of 10, if you're choosing a large reputable brand, their brand relies on those sort of security standards. But if you didn't check or you didn't ask what they're doing, if you didn't check, we know that the Privacy Act talks about domicile, data being domiciled in Australia, and so. But do we check, or are we just using a tool because it's become available on the market? It can do these things, and we just connect into it, and we don't know where the data is being saved or stored or used, or what the policies are around that. So, I guess the big question is, have you checked? Did you do some homework? Did you do your due diligence? Did you actually document it? And did you make a decision based on what you do know that you're happy to continue to use it? Because when you're putting clients' personal identifiable information into these tools or systems, it becomes very serious as far as the Privacy Act is concerned. And, it's on you. Just as we talked about the accuracy of AI tools, every time you use a tool, you can't blame the tool. You can't sit back and look at the tool. Mm-hmm. Does that company adhere to the Australian privacy principles, or are they just an offshore company that the Australian government couldn't go after if they were doing the wrong thing? So yeah, there's a whole lot of these things, and as you'll see in the framework itself that we've produced around AI and the documentation, there is a structure there to say, at least ask the question. Get the information. You might even be able to find the information on that particular website of the company or the product that you're using, and then be able to put that in and say, yes, based on what they're saying here, I believe them, and I'm happy to go ahead and use it.
Yeah, so it's a checklist almost as such, isn't it? Just whatever the requirements for your particular business are, obviously in line with what the law is saying as well, and the legislative requirements. It's really a checklist on are these tools actually ticking all of those boxes for us.
And part of that actually is around assessing the financial viability of the business as well. I mean, when we're talking about some of these, bigger brands that we're utilising, it's going to be less of an issue. And Danni, and I'm sure the work that you guys are doing at Finura will kind of touch on this point, is around the financial viability of some of these smaller players that are coming into the market as well. So before a business really invests in them, it's actually making sure that the AI potential tool and business is going to be around for the longer term.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. All right. So we like to give some practical tips for advice businesses on our podcast. Mine, I think, I'll start, guys. Yep. I think mine is to sort of look at it from the client's perspective. And again, you guys have talked really well about this in the pod, but I think, look, what is your client going to be thinking and feeling about AI? As you said earlier, Fraser, they're already a little bit twitchy when it comes to cybersecurity. They're seeing the fear in what's happening with breaches and data breaches and that sort of thing. So how are your clients looking at all of this? And I think, really think carefully about how to address that, and what methods you can put in place and what rules you can put in place to look after your clients from this perspective. Selin, any tips from
Probably
you?
My tip is to start small. Begin with the manageable projects that can deliver the quick wins and initial efficiencies, and then use that to actually learn from it, iterate and improve on it. And as part of that, you'll also start to identify and manage any risks within the business as well, which I think is going to be critical in this space, and especially in financial services.
Yeah. Good one.
Yeah, and I think my 3 tips. My tip is really to follow the same advice I give for cybersecurity, and that is to have that there's 3 pillars to this. There is the tech. There are the human beings that are using the tech, which is really important. Making sure that they're trained and they understand what they can and can't do. And then there's the compliance piece. Do you have all your policies and processes in place that are going to back you up if you ever need to have it there? So there's 3 pillars when it comes to cybersecurity. There's the technology, the humans, and the compliance piece. And I think it's the same for usage of AI. Or probably selecting technology or how you work in the business anyway. There's those 3 pillars, and I think we've got to make sure we've ticked off on every single one of them. We can't just stick with one and think we're going to be okay.
All right. Thank you so much to our guests, Selin Ertac from Tangelo Advice Consulting and Fraser Jack from the Cyber Collective. We hope you guys have got some good information today around using AI in your business. And if you'd like a copy of the AI usage policy, you can get it at thecybercollective.com.au/AI framework. And we hope you find it useful when you're thinking about how to implement AI safely into your business. And thank you for listening to another episode of the WealthTech Insider. If you haven't already, you can go and complete our technology health check at www.finuragroup.com to get an idea of how your business is tracking and where you could potentially make some improvements with your tech stack. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast, leave a review and share the episode with your network, and we look forward to seeing you next time.